starting the North Sherborn Water Sewer District Commission meeting at 7:31 on February 5th, 2026. Sorry, I'm calling the meeting to order. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We can review tonight's agenda quickly. Oh, do we need a roll call, Stephen? Do you know?
To open the meeting, yeah, you should.
Yeah. All right. So, people in attendance: Andrea, I, Josh,
Josh, I.
Steve,
Steve, I.
Marion,
Marion, I.
and that's all we have, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. So the agenda is, does anyone have any things to add to the agenda? It's basically the minutes, whatever minutes. I don't know if we have any.
Yeah.
Review the draft bylaws and water and sewer regulations.
Yeah.
And talk about a future water system operator. And Kim Hall from SWSS is with us, so we perhaps can start with that.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Then we can get updates on the intermunicipal agreement with Framingham. I think Natick's all set from our perspective. Then we can have just general discussions on startup, system ownership transfer, all those things we were starting to discuss last time. And then finding a new commission member, if there's any update on that. Does anyone have anything to add?
I do not.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Great. And roll call: Josh,
Aye. Josh, I.
Steve,
I.
Marion,
I.
Andrea, I. Okay. So just quickly before we start with Kim, maybe we should finish that thought that yes, we should take ownership of those regs and bylaws. I just would like to work from the copy that she was working on with us, because I think that's the most current
Yeah. Yeah.
to find those, because she was making edits for
Is,
us, and we can accept or not accept as we want. But
and is she using the SharePoint, Jeremy, to mount new versions with edits? Do you know?
She has access. I'm not sure who's been using it. I don't have, it doesn't give me that.
yeah, I
Okay.
didn't see that either. But she was working on it, and she was saving it with the date of our last meeting, which was January 29th. So I think we should just touch base with her. I'm happy to do it. I don't have her contact, but I could find it, I suppose, about where those most recent versions with red line strikeout are. So then Matt and Josh and I will have everyone will have the most current ones to work with.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I guess we should move on. Kim is here. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Josh,
Thanks for having me.
I don't know, Josh, if you want to take over from here, and I think we've all met Kim before.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you guys could jump in if you have to, but we're just looking for kind of a baseline proposal on running the system. I sent you a little a little blurb about what the system involves. I think earlier when we talked at the last meeting, we talked about kind of everything that had to do with the system, including like pumps and tanks and all this stuff, and ends up all we're going to be responsible for is about 4,000 feet of pipe with 10 hydrants, some taps and some valves. And it sounds like correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not going to be even involved with the sewer side of it at all. So I think it's just really operating the water side of it from where it connects in Framingham to where it crosses the property line at the project.
Yep. But there's also testing and reporting that needs to be done that she probably knows more than we do.
Yeah, everything that has to do with operating that chunk of pipe and everything that has to do with, I guess, North Sherborn Water Sewer District supplying water to those, I guess, customers.
That would
Okay.
that would include monitoring of meters and certifying meters and overseeing repairs, handling emergencies. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, and I think Kim, I think you spelled out a lot of that in that document you shared with us. I'll see where that is.
Yes, there's really not a limit per se as to what we can offer. If your system needs something that we in-house can't provide, for example, if you needed an engineering study done on the pipes under the ground, like some older towns or cities do, that would be something that we'd help facilitate. We ourselves just don't do it because we don't have an engineer in-house. But overseeing any repairs that might be needed, emergency response 24/7. However, you want to set that up if there is a central alarm dialer or if there is a pump house or a booster station that has a visual alarm, like a blinking light on the building outside, or an audible alarm. Oftentimes, if there is someone nearby, then they call us for those smaller systems that don't have alarm systems, and we respond within an hour to any drinking water emergencies. And whatever is required, depending on the emergency, as far as to maintain compliance and public safety. If, for example, there was a water main break, the first thing we would want to do is to try to isolate it. So there are gates under the ground along the water mains that you can shut off different sections. So we would isolate where the problem is. We would work with you if you have a preferred vendor to dig up the road, dig up the area, expose it, repair the pipe, disinfect the area, and take all the required samples as the state requires. Regular monitoring would be as soon as your system gets a PWS number, the DEP has gone through it, they will issue a water quality sample schedule. And as you are purchasing your water from Framingham, if they are a chlorinated system, then in the North Sherborn Water District, you would be required to sample for disinfection byproducts to make sure those levels aren't too high, because they can be carcinogens if they're really high. There's reporting quarterly for those kind of sample results. It would be considered, I believe, a community consecutive system. There would be annual reporting that would have to be done. We can do all of that for you. All the stuff that you need to do to stay in compliance with the state is what we help you do.
Okay. You have people on staff to do hydrant flushing,
Yes.
valve exercising.
Yes.
And if in the case of a water main break, within that 1 hour, there's somebody that could respond. They have like gate valve keys and wrenches, everything they need to shut the
Yes.
main off. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And what about things like meter installation?
We've done that before too.
Yeah. Do you sub that
Residential or
out?
commercial.
Yeah.
Our guys usually do it depending on the installation. If it's remove something that's old and put something new in, yes. If it's a completely new piping, we would work with whoever your plumber is.
Okay. Yeah. Because I would imagine we're going to need to have the existing meters from Framingham replaced with our meters as soon as we turn it on.
And if there's any piping that needs to be done, we can handle that in-house as well.
Please let me introduce Steve. Steve is my field operations manager. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to join tonight.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
I am here. I was 6 minutes late.
That's not bad.
We won't hold it against you.
Yeah.
So could I ask Kim and Josh or anyone else who knows, whose responsibility would it be to monitor water use at the meter level? I mean, because there's a whole bit of administration that has to go on. We have to know how much water they used. We have to generate a bill customers, take in. I mean, there's that kind of water district paperwork, but also it requires meter reading.
Yes, we have done that many times for other towns and districts that we've run, depending on the type of meter system that you have. It could be something as old-fashioned as the operators walking up to a meter and writing down the numbers. There are radio meter readers that you drive around town slowly with something in your truck and it captures all of them. We can facilitate that for you as well. But I believe the last meeting I was on with you guys, we don't do the billing of the customers. We would just provide you with the meter reads. Now, you will also be responsible to purchase your water from Framingham. So there will be a meter at that connection pit. And Framingham is going to want that meter read. They may even read it themselves on a monthly basis, weekly, not sure what they would want to do, but that's how they would charge your district for the water that you purchase. And then we would do monthly meter reads typically.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we will need a business person to run the business of the district, separate from you.
Yes.
Yeah, an intermediary to take that information and transfer it either to what Framingham and whoever does our billing, if we can get the town hall to do it, would do it that way.
With several of the districts that we've run in the past, they do typically utilize the town hall, whether it's someone in the clerk's office, because I imagine there's other parts of Sherborn that have town water. So there's got to be somebody that already does that kind of stuff.
We actually don't. This will be the first municipal water system in the town.
Well,
I know,
okay.
right?
This
Yeah.
might be a little bumpy, but okay.
That's
Yeah.
one of the
And then
unique things about Sherborn is that we're pretty much all on private wells, with the exception of a few of the customers that are right on the Framingham line and are going to get incorporated into the district. So there's a couple of existing customers, and I believe that they are just essentially just directly billed by Framingham. But then they're going to get wrapped into the district. But otherwise, this is the town's first foray into having a municipal water supply. So that's why we're a little bit clueless right now.
And I know Kim had said monthly, but it's quarterly that you read meters and bill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I get
Do you
my
need
bill
to-
monthly. Sorry, I thought it was monthly.
Okay.
No, it's quarterly.
Do you need to read the meters monthly for any kind of documentation for any requirements
So
of
that
the
would
state?
be not for the individual homes. That would just be the meter pit, or depending on how it's situated, the meter that you're coming from Framingham. So that master meter is
Mhm.
what would be recorded. Maybe that they might require weekly, monthly. It's all what the state wants, but that is separate. So then the program that would have your meter reads in, you would take that master meter read and calculate it out and say it's, whatever, 100,000 gallons. Then you want to make sure that your customers are using, it all went to customers so you don't have a leak. That you
Mhm.
want them to correlate pretty closely.
Everything's got a balance. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that
Okay.
master meter that he's talking about at the interconnection, that would be the read that we would use, the difference between each month when we would have to do your annual reporting to DEP, because they require to see how much you've purchased. And then Framingham will do the same thing, and the DEP eventually will compare those numbers.
Do they have a percentage of difference, that they allowable percentage of difference in case not everything is calibrated exactly the same, or does
So-
it have to tie to the number?
No, so that once it enters into your district, the state is going by that number. They're not going by the individual house number. So that they don't know what a house is using. What that recording is good for is for in-house knowledge. So if you're buying 100,000 gallons, you want to roughly be billing 100,000. Otherwise, you're paying for water that you have a leak underground.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody took their meter head off and they're getting free water. The biggest thing that it tells you is you have a leak somewhere that's not surfacing.
Okay.
Because on a
Good to-
consecutive system, you don't have a water tower. You're not running, like a well, so you can't tell how much you're actually putting out. Like Framingham, if you had a big break, Framingham might call and say, "Hey, do you guys have a leak? Because we can't find anything and we're losing water."
Yeah.
But so that's the only thing that's good for. The state won't ask for the individual reads.
Okay.
And so in that scenario where there is a discrepancy between the meter reads, are you guys also equipped to sort of help track down where that either
Yes,
leak
we
is
are.
or otherwise
Yes.
discrepancy? Okay.
Yep. And if it's a like not in a roadway, like if we find a leak, like going to a service, or I'm not sure exactly where the water lines are laid out, but as long as it's not a paved area, we will dig and do the repair. But if it's on a roadway, then we would contract it out, unless you guys had somebody that was doing it. But
Steven, your system's going to be
we're
brand
just not
new,
thinking the
so
roadway.
it's going to be pretty tight. You're not going to accept it
Okay.
until it's all pressure tested and disinfected. If there was a leak, it's
Yep.
unaccounted for water is what that is, and
Yep.
the state and the MWRA may be interested in that,
Mhm.
actually reporting on that. So if there
Correct.
is a leak,
But
there are
yes.
methods to detect it. You can listen. You can, there's audio things you can sound out a leak.
Correct.
So
Yep.
You all do.
Yeah, if you have discrepancies, then that's where you find your discrepancies and then you report, to the state on that side.
yep.
You all do construction. I don't know whether it's inspections or whatever, but as the pipe is being installed, as the system is being installed, are you ever asked to sort of check out before they backfill, or just
We have, when we ran the town of Carver, they did a whole, I want to say maybe a mile or so of 12-inch line that they were doing to an Amazon. And I went and inspected and was there to visualize their pressure test almost daily. Every time they put a new piece of pipe in, they wanted me to inspect it.
because I know it's not, they're really good pipe layers, but I was on a construction site and they were using, I can even show you a picture, and even the folks on site didn't realize it wasn't right, but as there were, I don't know what they're called, but some sort of blocks.
Thrust
A
block.
thrust block? A thrust
Yeah.
block.
They had huge boulders at each of those locations, and I don't think that was exactly kosher to be using.
That actually that is.
It is?
It
Okay.
is.
Well, that's good. I just learned something because there was
Yeah, so
they thought it was-
usually depending on what the material in the ground is, and especially if it's virgin, like virgin hole, you
Yeah.
definitely can use a boulder that fits in there snug as a thrust
Okay.
block.
Okay.
Generally preferable to use cement and plastic between the cement
Right.
and the pipe. So you get so you don't have a point of impact on the pipe, so it cracks. But
I think they had to take them out.
rust blocks are indeed important.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
right then,
Matt, are you on still?
Oh, yeah.
What's your take? What's your take on the thrust block thing?
I mean, I do a ton of work. I do a ton of work in the city of Boston and Cambridge, and it's concrete formed thrust blocks. Hydrants, you have to make sure you put your stone, you don't block your drain valves, because the hydrant stems have a drain valve at the bottom. So when they shut the water drains out of the stem, so it doesn't freaking break the hydrant on extremely cold weather like this. But usually they make us concrete.
So,
They
if
would
you
never
were,
let us use a boulder.
yeah, I think on some private sites we've used it, but I guess the question I would have, Kim, is if we were going to have your firm inspect or oversee the installation of the pipe, would you bid that on a bid process, or would that be an hourly or a daily bid? Like, how would you price something like that?
If you wanted us to come out and just oversee what was happening. Typically things like that, because we're unsure of how long it's going to be, how much of our service you're going to want. It's kind of a time and material, as we call it. So it would be an hourly, whatever hourly rate we decide on.
Okay.
I'm
Kind
not
of based
sure-
on how long.
I'm not sure we need that, but I don't know. I'll defer to whatever others think.
Well, we'll see when they put it in. If depends
Yeah.
depends what everybody's doing.
Right.
I was hoping that I don't think I'll have the time off then, but it would be nice to be able to just stand by and
Pop
watch.
in.
Well, yeah, watch them do it. But
Stop over every once in a while.
yeah, I'm sure they would love that.
I could probably do that and send you guys pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, have we seen the design drawings
No.
of the water main
No.
from an engineering firm that drew them up, sized them up, told you where
No.
valves are, told you where hydrants are? They usually
No,
give you they should give you details of thrust blocks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's yet to come.
I think Liz told us at the last meeting that the only plan they have is in 80 scale, so it's a pretty general plan
Yeah,
of
that's
where.
not going to be sufficient for you folks. You're going to need
No.
more detail than that
Yeah, so
before
they
you
haven't.
accept accept the design. So
Yeah,
that
so they haven't
that's
even got past
still
that.
that's still to be provided to you. I mean, you have a general idea, the overall length of the pipe, and there'll be hydrants every 300 feet. So you have ample knowledge to be able to help scope out how to operate the system. I mean, I think that's really what you're focusing on is, the annual operation cost that
Hmm.
SWSS could help with.
Okay.
Kim, how do you for that sort of thing when it's sort of a known system, and it's a public water system with a set testing schedule and so forth? How do you generally formalize those contracts, and how does that billing work? Is that
So
Is
the
that
way we structure our contracts for a system like this that we consider a small water district, it would be the state oftentimes determines how many hours are required based
Yeah.
on whether it's a distribution one, a very small system, distribution two, level of treatment. The state sometimes, we have one system that they want us there for 35 hours a week, and it's just distribution lines under the ground. But there's a lot of customers, over 2,000 people, so it's got to be 7 hours a day. It depends on what the state requires. For small systems, like the town of Carver that Steve mentioned, we could do 4 hours a day, because I had a much smaller, I'm at a loss for words, customer base. So we will look at how many hours are required and decide on an operator rate and multiply that by how many hours are required a day, a week, multiply that through the year, look at what's required for sampling, factor in if you have hydrants and you need a hydrant flushing program, gate valve flushing. So the contracts, the proposals themselves are mainly built around what the estimated labor will be in a year, and the routine reporting stuff for the DEP, the annual statistical reports, the consumer confidence reports, the monthly submission of all of the labs that we are required to sample. If there was something bigger, if the state requires an emergency response plan, that's a lot more intense. So that's billed at a different rate. If you had a water main break, there is emergency response paperwork that has to be filled out after that. That would be billed at a separate rate. So the stuff that's routine for all systems, we build all of that into the contract.
Okay.
So you usually get extra bills when there's surprises for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. The components of that bill in the contract, that rate in the contract would be broken down, I presume, in the contract. That is, you're
Yes.
not just going to give us a figure. You're
Oh,
going
yes.
to show us the
Yes.
breakdown. Yeah.
We do detailed proposals. There are a few pages of what it is that we will do. Like, this is all encompassing in this contract. These items over here are not. So if you run into these scenarios where you need to have an emergency response form done if this is at a different rate.
Right.
We do lay all that out for you.
So what information would you need to be able to produce us a I guess an estimate, maybe not a quote at this point, but an estimate of what it would cost?
So how much information do you have from Mass DEP? Like, how involved are they so far at this point?
Yeah, anybody? I don't have an exact answer for that.
Well, maybe Jeremy knows. I don't think Mass DEP has been directly involved much at all.
Not as of yet. Like I said, there's no design plans yet for your water system, so there's nothing to submit to them. There's no public water system ID assigned yet. Um, there's no, the forms that would sort of help dictate the required maintenance and then hours per week type thing have not been prepared. So it's really, I guess, based on your experience with similar size systems, I guess, is probably the best way to estimate at this point, just as a gross ballpark, but we don't have detail yet as far as the actual water system testing requirements and so forth.
Do you have an estimated number of customers and service connections?
To begin with, there'll be two. No, wait. 1, 2,
5.
5, yeah, yeah.
5 customers?
Yes.
Okay.
We're talking a very small system. It's a small system here.
But 2 of those customers will be like 67 and 130 some residences. So, collectively, the two of them are very big multi-unit developments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Serve each
Yeah.
with their own
Yeah,
connection.
yeah.
So.
Yeah,
So
essentially,
That's your customer count.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the customer count. That is the population number that the state will look at that will determine how many bacteria samples need to be done monthly and things like that. So that would also tell us, kind of give us an idea of what a proposal amount might be for you.
Is that do we need to furnish you with the number of units that will be on the Toll Brothers side, or does it literally just go off of our meters that we're going to have 5 meters and that brings back the number of samples we have to do, brings it down pretty low?
So you're going to
Complexity
have
of the
5.
system is going to be based on the population served. So,
Okay, entirety, yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
the 5 meters that you're talking about are going to be right before the Toll Brothers site, and you will then bill the Toll Brothers site based on that meter?
2 of those meters, yes.
Yeah, so coming down from Framingham, the first meter will serve how many units? Does anybody know how many units is in that property, the first property on the right? The
Right.
is that an over 55?
Yeah, I forget I can tell you in a minute.
Yeah.
It's maybe 10 or 15, something like that.
Okay. 10 or 15. Then there's 2 services, one for residents, one for a farm stand, and then the last one will go to Toll Brothers, and we have the numbers on that. I don't have them in front of me, but
Isn't there one more house right before the Natick line? Just
There-
right diagonally across from Coolidge Street. Isn't that a Sherborn home?
It is, but it's served by the Natick water system.
So it won't be
Not gonna
transferred to
be.
this line?
Not at this time. There'd be no pipe in front of the home.
Yeah, and there's other houses on properties on Kendall. I think that's Kendall, right? That are on private wells. Is that true?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
yeah. So initially, I think we were looking at a little bit over 200 total units that would be served initially.
All right, 200 units served.
On 5 meters. And I guess that could go to 6 meters if the farm stand includes their irrigation meter. Is that true? Could there be a separate one there for the irrigation?
Ideally, you like to separate irrigation from potable water that's used for human consumption, especially when you're reporting. That helps with limits as far as the Water Management Act, where the MWRA is regulated by the Boston office of Mass DEP. They're only allowed to produce so much, and they like to see where it's going, what it's being used for, and irrigation is part of the equation.
Okay. So what do you think, Jeremy? That could be 6, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Will they be using their farm pond for irrigation? I don't know. I know they have farm ponds, but I don't know if they use the water. Anyway,
Okay.
So how will that work, Josh? If the common areas like irrigation within the roadways that aren't on the properties has a separate meter, we'd have to figure out how do you disperse that cost to the 200 units?
Well, we won't. We're going to have master meters at the property line, and everything inside the property line is going to be their responsibility. I think they're probably going to try and use some of the wells they drilled for irrigation up there. I think that was the consensus. So the only irrigation I was talking about was the farm stand. I think already has a separate, either a separate service or a separate meter for irrigation. So it would really just be for the farm stand. Whatever Toll Brothers and Kennedy Wilson does with their water doesn't really apply to us. It's just going to be water into the property, I think.
It will be up to the water district, us basically, to approve those connections sooner or later. Actually, probably sooner in their case, because as Jeremy has pointed out to us, they will, with this new connection, they will have to provide the water sewer district with the engineering plan for their new connection, even though maybe it now will go off of the water district main line. And they will have to justify their needs, their usage needs, and the district will have to approve those gallons per day that they request. So that's still to be determined, I think. I mean, informally, the farm stand, Jim Gagan has told me that they avoid using the Framingham water for irrigation because it's so expensive. You know, they would much prefer to use well water. But that's something that we'll have to work out with them because they have to have a dedicated gallons per day from the district.
So, Kim, is that enough for you to come up with something, or?
Yes, I can come up with something. So Steve and I will wind up going back, probably having a conversation tomorrow during one of our meetings about how this place is probably similar to some others that we have. And then also bring our business manager, Rachel, into the conversation, who is ultimately the one that kind of decides the ranges of the prices that we use. So I can probably put something together as far as a rough estimate of a price to give you an idea. We might have a few follow-up questions as we put this together.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we understand it's a little vague, but anything you can provide will be helpful for us, and we'll certainly, keep the discussion going so we get the information you need to get something more detailed. But
Okay,
we're working through this. Thanks for your help.
of course.
Yeah, it'll be exciting when we actually finally get a real plan showing what's going in.
So as soon as you start to have DEP involvement in this, when they want to set up, whether it's inspections, oftentimes we call them activation approvals, that's when you really want to start to have an operator. And typically someone like Steve or someone like myself or anyone from our office would go out and accompany the DEP person on site to help answer questions on your behalf, provide documentation that we know they're going to ask for, that kind of stuff. So as soon
Okay.
as you start to see some state involvement, that's when you want to have your operator and all of this kind of solidified.
We
Okay.
need an operator soon because we need to, in order for, they want to submit, the developer wants to submit the final,
Andrea, you're frozen.
oh, no, that's just me.
Oh.
No, I think you're frozen. Marion, I think you're frozen.
I
actually.
am frozen.
Yeah.
We need a business plan, and I think that's something you can help us with. In fact, we should shoot that over to you. I looked at it a little while ago, but it looked like all things that probably we need to design in order to complete, but that our operator, it's something we are not knowledgeable to create. So they want to do the final EIR, submit that sometime. Is it April? And so we sort of need to we need to select an operator that can help us with all these document preparation things. So
Okay. Something we've also done for Toll Brothers, actually, and other builders that we've worked with, we structure our proposal and our contract for an interim period in the beginning where it's more kind of an hourly basis. We work as like a consultant for you. We're the operator of record. And then once the system does in fact go online, then it switches over to, okay, here's our operations contract with you.
we totally need that.
That's
I
that's
think
exactly what we need right now, actually.
that's what we
Okay.
need. And that would be super helpful. Josh, maybe you could shoot that over to her. Well, I could find it for you if you need it.
Yeah. I think I have the business plan. I think I have
It
that.
seems very simple, to be honest, but there's you have to fill in the blanks, and we can't
Yeah.
do that.
One of the
But
things,
yeah,
Kim, that
no,
we would need is probably also just a cost estimate for that sort of consulting period because
Mhm.
the district has no funds right now and we have no revenue. So we are going to be asking for some seed money from Toll Brothers and Kennedy Wilson. And so then, of course, they ask, well, how much do you need? And then we're like, well, we're not sure. So it's like, I think we'll probably need from you a number that says, okay, over the next few months, this is probably the amount that is going to be needed in consulting fees that we would then subsequently ask Toll Brothers for, basically.
exactly.
Okay.
Andrea, do you have the business plan? If you have it, can you fire me a copy of that? I don't have it in my
Yep, I can
folder.
pull that. We haven't made any. It's in the master. It's in the what do you call it? The share file. We haven't made any changes to it, obviously.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I have the share file
If you
too.
can grab it, it's called, it's like BUS.
Business plan is what it's called. I have the file open now.
Business plan. All right.
Yeah.
I will.
So that is totally what we need. We need we need a decent estimate so that we can ask for money up front for your first few months, and then we need and then we'll need going forward, whatever you can provide us.
Okay. That's definitely something we can do. That actually makes this a little easier.
Yeah, truly.
Gotta make sure I have that.
All
All
right.
right.
Is there anything else that we wanted to ask Kim or that you wanted to ask us?
I think I've got some good information to go off of. If I do wind up having any questions while I'm sitting down with Steve and Rachel, we'll probably put our questions together and either fire off an email over to Josh. Maybe it'll wind up that we jump on the next with the district commission meetings like this that you have next month. But yeah, we'll reach out with questions or we will reach out with the proposal for you.
Great.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I was
So-
trying to look up that form. I think I have that
I'll
in
send
my,
it
and I'll
to you.
send it over.
I can find it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So much, folks.
All right. Thanks a lot. And we'll be in touch soon.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
All right.
Andrew, just so you know, I've probably got about 20 minutes before I gotta go.
Okay. What should we do, people? Let's see. Do we want to talk about anything startup? Oh, I wanted to ask about insurance. I mean, the last meeting, Kennedy Wilson brought up. I mean, no, was it? No, Whitewater brought up having insurance. That might be something we need.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, all these startup related questions. Is there anything, Marion, that you want to talk about in your list of?
Well, I sent that list of stuff to monitor, basically to stay on top of. But I think I'd like to talk a little bit about a very useful little tete-a-tete that Stephen and I had with Jeremy, as we have a regular chair and vice chair select board meeting with Jeremy, and we took advantage of it last week to ask him some questions that came up at our last meeting.
Right.
And so I mean, Jeremy, you can help with this, but I'd like to just share the take home for me. You may recall that we asked last time with Will and Liz how when we heard about their projected water use, and they mentioned kind of off the cuff that, well, if they need more water, they can use the excess capacity. It occurred to me that we have to have some really clear ground rules on that. And that led to a discussion with Jeremy is exactly at what point do we approve the gallons per day that are allocated to a project or that they have right to? And exactly when does that happen? And then going back to the bylaw, the legislation, I should say, I recalled that we did say in the legislation that water will not be allocated to a project until the project has all the board approvals that are required by the town. For example, a 40B approval from the zoning board or a site approval from the planning board, so that a proposed user can't like ask for a certain allocation of water and then hog it, and not move keep other people from using it. So putting those together, Jeremy advised us that in approving the connection, that's when we set the expected flow, and that it's when we approve the connection. But then it occurred to me that the approval of a connection like that really has to take place in a series of steps. For example, according to the legislation, once a property has all the permits that it needs to do a project, at that point, we allocate the water to that project, which means that the developer or builder would have to make a preliminary application to the Water Sewer District Commission and ask for a certain quantity of water, which we may preliminarily approve, but contingent on a final approval from us of the project. And this comes into play not only for new users that may come on after the Toll Brothers project is built, but for the Toll Brothers project itself. At what point do we formally approve the gallons per day that they have a right to? And I think at this point, obviously, if we follow the bylaw, if we follow the legislation, sorry, that has to be determined when their project has been through all the state and local approval that it needs. In our case, it's approval from the planning board for the EA development and approval from the ZBA. And at that point, we should be able to preliminarily approve a gallons per day of usage that they have a right to, because they have to have that gallons per day guaranteed to carry the project any farther. So it makes sense to me that the final approval of the use, the volume per day of water use should be given in stages. A preliminary approval, yes, we commit the water, maybe for a reasonable period of time in which they have to act on it. And then, as Jeremy pointed out to us, in the process of approving the project, approving the use, we have to approve the engineering plans, in this case, not only for the shared infrastructure, but for the infrastructure on their project. And so that's a second level of approval. And then finally, we'll have to approve the as-built infrastructure. And that would be true for any new user. And then finally, we give them final approval, in which case, they can run the water and use the gallons per day. But it's at the beginning of that process that we would set the gallons per day. And that seems a fair way to go. And I think that would work for the Toll Brothers Kennedy Wilson projects as well, because as soon as they get approved by zoning board and planning board, we can formally commit the X gallons per day to their projects, and then wait for the next, the engineering plans and all the other steps to go through. If we approve the gallons per day right up front in the beginning, then that's their quota. And they can't draw on the excess capacity without coming back to the water sewer district and justifying why they need excess capacity.
Have they given us that number yet?
They have. Well, it's stated very clearly
Yeah.
in the draft EIR.
Yeah. So when do we approve that?
Well, I think formally, at least this is my hypothesis. You can argue, and I hope you do. We could formally approve that allocation of gallons per day to them when the projects have been approved by the planning board and the zoning board.
In what document do we do, is there a town, is it the agreement between the developer and the select board? No. In
You
what
would,
document?
I mean, they would, anyone wanting to connect to your water system would need to apply for a connection.
Yeah.
And you would have that's one of the reasons that you have regulations and bylaws.
Yeah.
So that, and it's set forth in the enabling legislation that set up your district. So really, you need to keep focusing on your bylaws and regulations and get those in a state that you can adopt.
Yeah.
Because that will drive and set the ground rules for how folks will apply to you and what standards they need to meet, what information they need to provide before you would issue them a permit to connect. And that's what you would do. They would apply to you, they would give you design plans, engineering plans, they would tell you what the use is, the level of use. It's going to be residential, so many units, so many bedrooms. That's going to dictate the flow that you're expecting to give them. And then you would review that information and then vote formally to accept that connection and issue them a water connection permit. And then issue that permit. That permit would reference all the design plans, could, mention the use and so forth. And they could not change any use or intensity of use without coming back to you for review and approval. So that's where you have your control over how much water is used, what you let connect and the requirements that they revisit anything with you if they need any more water for some reason.
That's yeah, thanks, Jeremy. You said it much more clearly than I did, but I think that that's the sort of thing that needs to be written into our bylaws and regulations. It's not clear to me what part of that belongs in the bylaw and what part of that belongs in the regulations. Certainly, it should be spelled out in detail in the regulations, but I'm not sure how much it should be reflected in the bylaw as well.
Yeah, I mean, and if indeed the regulations are based on Framingham's water regulations, that it should be in there. They approve and review connections all the time. Having
Yeah.
actually done it for them.
I don't remember seeing anything in there about flow, but I maybe glossed over that. Does it have flow rate in there, Jeremy? Do you remember? I read it 100 times, but I don't remember seeing it.
More like the approval
It's
process.
more based on use, not necessarily gallons per day on the permit, but you're
Yeah,
approving the water connection for a specific use and intensity of use.
yeah. So do we need to spell that out better? Like, let's say use is single family home. Well, that could be a broad brush from 3 bedroom to six
Yeah,
bedroom
I
or
guess
something like that.
hard to, I not having the regulations in front of me, I can't say. So
Yeah, yeah.
something you should mentally note when you're getting and reviewing and commenting on your regulations.
Okay, I'm gonna look back through that and see if we based our flow rates on like what DEP does for single family home water usage on like a septic. Is that,
That's pretty common in the industry,
yeah,
which
It's
which in
interesting.
reality is an overestimate of actual use.
yeah,
So it's very conservative.
Jeremy, I
yeah.
have a question for you. In their draft EIR, they
Yep.
their calculation of water use is pretty much in line with what they said they would do and what we've been talking about.
Uh-huh.
It's based on the DEP Title V, it's 55 gallons a day per person, 110 per bedroom.
Yep.
But then elsewhere in their DEIR, they mention 65 gallons a day. And they mentioned that again in our meeting the other day.
Yes, that's a different number, Marianne. So that number is what if the Mass DEP, if you had a public water system that had a well, you would need to have a well approval under the you need a W well a permit from Mass DEP to run a public water system well. And they would have a goal for you as an operator to only supply on average 65 gallons per day per person to your customers. It's that's sort of a conservation type measure that's used. So it's a different number
Per person or
for
per
the customers
bedroom?
per person.
Person.
65 gallons per day per person is the goal of all water systems in the Commonwealth
You
for
said
for
55.
average use. 65.
65. Okay, but the calculation of their water need from Framingham is based on 55.
Well, it really yeah, and it really should be based, 110 gallons per day per bedroom is really what the calculation should be.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what it is. It's 110, but half of 110 is 55. So basically, it means they're thinking 55 per person, 110 per bedroom. But all of those calculations and the ones that we've been estimating ourselves are all based on 110 per bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're getting a little lost, not seeing the forest for the trees a little bit with the detail here. And you're going to have plenty of water for the customers, the connections
Right.
that you're
But
doing.
but it does matter. I know I'm getting into the weeds. I'm
I
sorry,
know.
but it does matter if we're setting a gallons per day maximum use on a property, whether we use 55 or 65, it matters.
It's not necessarily the way you're not in reality that's not the way that you'll be able to do it. So
It's gonna,
there's not a valve that's going to turn off after they hit that number. You're approving a use and an intensity of use. That's the best you can do by way of your water.
Right.
Um,
But the use that we're approving will be based on 110 gallons per day per bedroom, and that's
sure.
what they have actually proposed, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm okay.
Yep.
I won't pursue it further.
I had a couple other questions. Jeremy, you weren't with us last time. Sean brought up a pretty good point that I haven't really been able to figure out how to answer. We're buying our water from Framingham. The pipe comes into Framingham. There's a fire at Sweet Meadow Farm.
Yep.
They come down, the crew comes down, they tag the hydrant, they start dumping water on the thing all night, and like he said, could be 100,000 gallons.
Sure.
Who pays for that?
The water district will need to pay for that water because it's going to go through the meter that comes in from the city of Framingham to Sherborn.
Yeah.
But you will want to allow that. That's a public benefit. And you would want to help, put out a fire like that.
Yes.
So what I've talked to Chief Ward, and for small things, that level of water use to put out, a small fire is just going to get lost in the noise.
Mhm.
For a larger event, what you would end up doing is um, calculating with the chief's help the amount of water that was used to put out that fire.
Mhm.
And then that could be submitted to the insurance company as a claim. So, and the insurance company in the loss will help pay for that water. They could give money, the insurance money could pay the district to help cover the cost of that water.
Okay. Yeah.
Jeremy, what if the fire occurs in Coolidge Crossing, and Coolidge Crossing has a meter on their own has a hydrant on their own property.
Mhm.
So it's behind their meter. They're going to get charged for the water that is used to put out the fire.
That
Yes.
they could, if it goes through that meter, you could be you could administrate it that way. And then again, they could get an insurance payment to help them cover the cost of the water that was used during the fire and for putting out the fire.
I'm looking for a way for the district not to go bankrupt over a fire, basically.
Yeah, that's where it can be, what the chief would help with that. So what he would need is actually a sort of an invoice from the water district that he could then help get the insurance payment. So, but it is, all public water systems that serve municipalities that have pipes in the street have hydrants, and it's what they're used for. They're used to help put out fires. So it's sort of part of what the district is helping supply for all the customers or properties nearby to the water system is some additional safety to help put out fires. So you as a district could also recoup costs and you have full authority to do this, should you wish to, develop a revenue stream that is for standby availability of fire protection. So, direct abutters to the water main, or some properties within a certain distance from a fire hydrant receive the benefit of having, a quicker response to fire issues. So you could assess properties some sort of standby fire protection fee on an annual basis. If Coolidge Crossing, the apartments there have sprinkler systems, which I presume they may, since there's a public water system, you would have a different fee structure for those fire connections than you would for the domestic use.
Mhm. Is it safe to assume that most such fire emergencies would be covered by the generous amount of water that's already allocated to the project? Well, it's hard to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, with your allotment from Framingham, a spike to deal with a fire, again, is going to kind of wash out in the noise of your total annual use.
Mhm.
And if it was so extreme that it did make a blip, it's a unique situation that you would only be you should count your good graces that you had the water available, and then you deal with the situation later.
Right.
So it sounds like there's going to need to be somebody. Maybe it's the committee. The committee will continue on in perpetuity as long as this water system there's going to be a North Sherborn Water Sewer District Commission.
There has to be. I'm sorry, you signed up. This committee is in as long as the district's in existence. There needs to be a commission to run it.
Yeah, and you're never leaving, right? You're always going to be
Yeah.
part of it, right? So,
well,
so
I wish I
that's
didn't let my water distribution and water treatment licenses lapse.
I know you could have run this.
I still have the PE. I still have the engineering. That's why I had to chime in on the thrush blocks. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, I
my
know.
civil engineering PE radar went off.
Yeah, I hope we didn't gang up on Steve.
I feel bad.
So, so those inspections, I mean, are we going to have to appoint someone, part of the committee, to be doing the inspections, to go out, to do approvals, to review plans?
I think a lot of that will, I mean, reviewing plans and whatnot, you can do together at your committee meetings. The field work, you're going to hire some consultants to help with that. One of the things that you can do when you get just in general, if you get somebody asking to connect to your water system, there's fees to be paid for that application, and there's information they need to provide. But you could also ask the applicant to provide funds to put in escrow to cover the costs of peer inspection, to hire a consultant.
Mhm.
You will likely do that for Toll Brothers and Kennedy Wilson.
Okay.
All right, guys. Sorry, I've got to drop off now.
You have to add Steve before you leave quickly or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Are we allowed to adjourn once Steve's gone? Are we going to be able to actually adjourn, vote on it?
Yeah, you can continue on. You still have quorum, even though Steve has to go. So you can keep going. And
all right.
Thanks,
Right.
Steve.
To back up a little bit, I
Thanks.
started to, thanks, Steve. I started to just draft a process, drawing on what it is in Framingham and drawing on our needs of establishing the limit of use for each customer, including Toll Brothers and Kennedy Wilson. Just kind of in the water district bylaws and regs that we have now, especially the bylaws, it's very vague. It's not spelled out at all. I think just the process should be spelled out a little bit there. So I tried to draft that, but I didn't have time to get it into any kind of presentable form.
so, and just so you know, no one has a right to connect to your water system. Nobody has
Right.
a right of use. Everything is subject to your approval. So I mean, you might be, it's not a bad thing if you run out of the allotment of water because it means you've got some customers and you've got some cash flow coming in. You got revenue. If you're selling water, you got revenue to offset your expenses. That's not a bad thing. You can always revisit the IMA and get more water from Framingham. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, right. The question is, well,
but at some point, if you do have, a flurry of people wanting to connect, at some point you will not be able to approve any more connections until you get more water from Framingham. That you will hit that limit if people
We
want
sh
to continue to connect.
we should have enough because they've taken into account all the properties within the district
Yeah.
and added that. So there should be adequate
For the
water.
existing usage, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what you don't know and you wouldn't know and you really can't plan on is if some uncontemplated use was proposed.
Hmm.
And of
well,
course, that would need approvals by many other various boards and committees in the town. So,
right. Actually, in their draft EIR, they foresee two possible developments in the water district. One is the MBTA Communities Act development that would be 75 more units. Another is they actually point out Bob Murchison's 40B proposal that I don't think is active anymore, but for a 40 unit apartment building. So they foresee that there will be future uses, but it's for that reason that we have to protect the excess capacity, at least on paper.
yeah, but I think, Marion, those 75 unit, if that did even materialize, the MBTA zoning project, I mean, that's a significant project that you would ask that specific project to bear a fair amount of the cost, all of the costs to connect, and probably would want to, at that point, revisit the IMA with Framingham and have that whoever the developer is of that MBTA project to pay for more capacity from Framingham.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So again, I know I get the concern about trying to protect this excess capacity, but we don't have pipes in the ground. We're not servicing anybody yet.
It's worrying
But
in advance.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just that I think in our regulations there should be a process that's clear.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
Is there
On
something?
sorry about that.
Nope. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say I was going to change the subject at all. So if you wanted to tag on to that, tag on.
I'm kind of changing it too. I was sort of wondering if there was an someone that could do a final review of our regs and bylaws um, in a more professional way, just to catch something that we might be missing. I don't know how critical it is because we can change them in the future, but I just don't want to have something stupidly omitted because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, a consultant.
Yeah, consultant, lawyer. I don't know who. I mean, we could ask Kim to take a look, but I don't know if there's someone else. We can even get a budget from Toll Brothers, Kennedy Wilson to have them. I don't know if we can or not, but does anyone else feel like they want them somebody to go
Yeah,
through?
I think we do need a consultant on our side, and at some point before they're final, we want a legal review of it, I guess, of the bylaw at least. I mean, Jeremy, do you think Tom Mullen should have some input at any point in this?
Um, I mean, he's a resource. Unfortunately, he's going through some medical issues right now, so he's not
Oh, I
available.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
just learned.
He's our special counsel.
Okay.
Are
Just
there
wondering.
companies out there, Jeremy, consulting firms that could review it or?
Oh yeah, there's many firms that could do that sort of thing. So are you all using the share folder? Are the latest drafts on the share folder?
No,
Are you
that's
all
my
confident that
concern.
they're?
It's really hard to tell.
I could not find what we worked on together on the 29th, January 29th. We made changes and Liz became our secretary, so to speak. She was making the changes, saving it as a January 29th, 2026 document, and I can't find that. So
Yeah, I
either
don't see that on
I
the
don't
file
find it.
here in the
right,
Yeah.
there's
folder.
nothing dated. So that's why I'm wondering, maybe she saved it to her computer and didn't upload them. Because I don't, yeah.
I gave her access, and I
She
know that
pulled
she has
them.
access, but I don't get like an alert when anything's changed in the folder, but I know
Okay,
she does have access.
all right.
Well,
I
every new version should have its own date
Yeah.
and, maybe the initials of who did the revision. But honestly, I'm more comfortable of us taking more ownership of it. I really appreciate the work that she's done to help us get it started. It's great. But I don't think the developer
No,
should
I
be.
agree. I agree. I agree. I'm just saying it would be nice to see the work that we did.
Yeah, at least not lose it. Right. I couldn't find it either. I looked this
Yeah,
afternoon.
I don't see it on here. There's nothing with that date.
Right.
So
I
I don't, yeah, like you said, maybe she hasn't saved it up there yet, but
What's her should I email her? I could
sure.
email.
We have a contact yet at Ty and Bond?
Yeah, Liz.
It's E. Clark at Ty Bond. That's TIGHEBOND.com.
Clark have an E at the end. I can't remember. Right.
Oh, and Jeremy, she asked to see the Natick IMA.
Hmm.
Is that a public document at this point?
Yeah, it's public. Um,
Okay.
I was hoping to get Dan's signature on it before I send it back to Natick, just because
Oh, right.
um so it's fully signed with exception of Dan on our end, and then I was going to get it over to Natick. I was going to give Dan the courtesy of being able to sign it as well. So I'll make a visit.
Yeah. I've been wanting to visit Dan myself, but I'm
I
trying
brought
to.
him some dinner the other night, so
Oh, you
I've
did?
seen him. Yeah, he looked good. He looked well.
Oh, good. That's great.
So the what I was going to bring up was last week we talked about, you brought it up, Marion, like when does the system get turned over to us? When is it ours? And I think we talked about having it turned over to us sooner rather than later, so we could start billing and so forth. And I kept thinking about that and almost think like we don't want that system turned over to us until the last minute. We want, in my theory, we want Toll Brothers to own that pipe and that run and that street as long as they possibly can. If they turn it over too quick, we could have pavement issues, we could have pipe issues, we could have material issues. Like we want them to run it as long as they can run it to make sure nothing goes wrong after at least a year or something, and then we know that it's 100%. The repave is good, everything checks out. So, is there a way that we can operate? They still own the system. They own it. They own the paving. They own the road. They own the pipe. We're operating it. We hire a firm to operate it for us, and we start taking the meter readings and start charging for the water, but it's still theirs, and we're not responsible for anything that happens to it over the first, let's say, year or so while they're doing the project.
We discussed this with Jeremy last week. I took
Mm-hmm.
that question that we had, and the developers had no clear answer. Um, Jeremy did have a clear answer. I could almost read it to you. Oh,
He always has a clear answer.
I know, I know. I mean, in a nutshell, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see if I get it right. Uh, they should own it during ideally, let's put the Kendall properties aside for the moment, but they should own the whole infrastructure up to their own property line until it's complete, flushed, certified by whoever needs to certify it, and totally ready to go. Then we'll take ownership. Once we take ownership, then we can, give them the final approval to use that water. But the Kendall properties, it'll ideally, it would be great if they could stay on their own little connection to Framingham Water while the big infrastructure is being built. But that depends on what that connection looks like. They may not be able to do that. And if they have to be joined in during construction, I guess they could be, well, they can't be joined in during construction unless the first phase up past the Kendall Street properties is flushed and certified and, you know, absolutely ready to go. And that would be a first phase, and then the rest of it would be a second phase. But I think that's a messy solution. But
Yeah, I have a
Jeremy,
feeling the way they go, I have a feeling that they're gonna blow past those properties and keep putting pipe in the ground. It takes a long time to flush, to chlorinate, to pressure test. That section, they have to hire an outside firm that comes in and pressure tests it and chlorinates it, inspects it, um, and they're not going to just park all the equipment and leave the road the way it is until they get that done. They're going to go.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So Jeremy, did I describe that more or less?
Yeah, I think you described it well, and I think it's also just in general in line with what Josh is saying that you the Toll Brothers is gonna they have an incentive to try to turn it over to you as quick as they can, but you're gonna want to ensure that everything is in good order before you accept it. So they have an incentive to turn it over to you because they don't want to keep running it. However, you don't need to accept it quickly. Like meaning, again, similar to the connections that might be approved, you're going to ask of them fully engineered plans of the water main, of the whole infrastructure, design of the hydrants, the valves, the pipe, how that pipe is going to be crossing, the brook in relation to the bridge. I mean, there's a lot of engineering you have not yet seen that you need to see at some point before you would even let them start construction. So you'll need to get all those plans and specifications. And you would be requiring them to provide you a performance bond before the start of construction so that you have some leverage to make sure, say they went out of business or something, whatever happened, you'd want to have some sort of financial guarantee to ensure that it's built correctly. And you wouldn't release that financial guarantee until it is built correctly and you've accepted it. So you want them to, one, show you what they're going to design, make sure that show you what they're going to build by designing it, that design meets DEP standards, have them make sure to get the approval from Mass DEP, the water folks, before you let them start construction. And then, they build it all with some oversight from your peer inspector, which they should fund. And they need to do all of the construction, the pressure testing, the flushing, the chlorination, the all of that, provide you certifications that it meets all those requirements before you accept it. And in that interim, they are running it, they own it, they run it. Let them do that. There's no reason that you would need to run it while they still have ownership of it. That's on them.
And then
And
if the
so
road,
would the Kendall properties be customers of them? How could that work? I mean,
Well,
maybe
again, I think
Birmingham
you need to
needs to be
get
involved.
engineered drawings to know how those connections actually will be connected and are currently connected. So we don't know yet, because we don't have any design drawings. You know, if the current water connections for those properties are outside of the area where this new water main's going to go, then they should just stay on those current water those water connections until the new main's already up and running, and then they're tied over. That's the
Right.
cleanest thing. You just don't know if there's something in the way that might need to be built differently, but they need to figure that out for you.
Okay.
The odds are pretty good. I mean, when they do this is only three services going in. One of
It's
them is
likely
on,
they can stay in service until, tied over at the last
yeah,
thing.
when they dig the trench, they'll connect it over the pipe. When they do some cities, they put them above ground or they do temporary water above ground so they can dig underground. So they'll
Yeah.
do some. I can't imagine they're going to tie those. They're not going to tie those services in as they install the pipe. They're going to
Oh,
install
well,
the whole
they
main.
can't, because when
Yeah.
it's whatever they need to tie it into a main that's been pressure tested and
Yeah,
disinfected and all that. So
exactly.
they, in any event, there's you'll there'll be some construction phasing in some way, but you don't know that until there's a design as a contractor that's proposing something. Um,
Mhm.
um,
Okay.
I have to
but
assume they're not going to replace the main that those properties are currently tied into, right? They're going to,
no, they
ex-
are. Yeah, it's not in great. I think it's a galvanized services and whatnot. Framingham's requiring those services to be replaced and the small main they're fed off of.
An old asbestos pipe.
Yeah, they said it might be AC.
Oh, it's AC, not Galv. Okay.
Yeah.
so they'll
Okay.
probably put them on, like Josh said, a bypass system above ground, get that pipe replaced, get it tested, pressurized,
Only if it's in the
chlorinated.
way. Only if it's in the way.
Yeah.
We just don't know where it is.
Yeah. We'll have to
They may
look at
not
the
need to do
plans.
bypass.
Yeah.
It might not be in the way.
We'll have to look at the plans. The only question I had is that's the end of their main where the AC pipe connects to the new pipe. Are they going to tee it and leave the AC pipe working for a while they run off this, or are they just going to disconnect it and hook onto this?
Yeah.
They'd have to use temporary. That'll all come out
Yeah,
in the
their
plans. That's
engineers are
really,
going to have to propose something on a
yeah,
plan, which
that's getting into the weeds. Um,
um, and by way of just to kind of answer the concerns or questions about potential defects and whatnot, generally, so you'll have a performance guarantee that you're not going to release until they've performed. You could also then transition that performance guarantee to a maintenance guarantee for a certain amount of time to have that leverage. But on their construction drawings as well, I mean, you're going to require them to do certain things by way of the roadway restoration, right? So those plans will specify how those water pipe trenches are going to be repaired and restored and the roadway restored. Um, you're going to want them to pave the full width of the road.
yeah.
We want a new road out of this.
One thing I
So
had a question about, Jeremy, does that fall under Sean's jurisdiction? I mean, do we have anything to do with the street cut at all? Do we just own the pipe
no,
and they
there is
have to get a
overlap.
street
Yeah.
cut?
Yeah. So
So,
they will need a street opening permit with the Public Works Department. Yep.
so if there's settling, if there's a problem with the pavement, Sean, that comes under his, right? We're really just going to own the
Well,
pipe.
he's going to assist you. I mean, it's the responsibility of the contractor, but then once it becomes your pipe, then it's going to be the district's responsibility, not
Yeah,
Sean's.
yeah. So we can't really approve the whole thing overall until it's signed off by,
It's another permit that the contractor will need to get is a road opening permit with the Public Works Department.
yeah, and they'll have to get like a CO on the road or whatever they call it, a sign off on
Yeah.
the road from the DPW before
Yeah.
we approve that. Okay.
But I mean, it's conceivable in the future, once you accept the water main and it's yours, and
Mhm.
for some reason you need to dig it,
Well, then again,
the
yeah,
district, you will need to get a street opening permit with the Public Works Department.
yeah. But
Or
they're going to do it
or
right,
your
so we're
hired
never,
contractor or whatever, but
yeah. And anybody that puts it a service, they'll own that. If somebody
You
decides to
want to
put a
make it clear in
service
your
in,
regulations that where the ownership of the service goes. Is it from the main in? Is it at the property line? Is it at the water shut off?
mhm.
It's done various ways in various water systems. So one of the considerations in your regulations.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Add it
Get
to
a
the
lot.
list.
Yeah.
And we haven't even mentioned sewer yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. If it's only those two properties that are the two residential developments, you don't need to take on a sewer system. Keep it private.
Yeah.
Until you've got other customers to serve, you don't need to even have a sewer infrastructure. Have that remain private, make that their responsibility. From an overall perspective that the IMA, you'll be involved, just the IMA to have the sewage go from the district into the Natick system, but that force main that's servicing the two Toll Brothers or the Toll Brothers and the Kenny Wilson project, keep that private. Have some sort of a license agreement with them to allow that private force main in the roadway. But any issues with it, it's on them.
Right, so they could make a license. They would license
The
their
town would
infrastructure
license, or the districts would license that. You would issue a license to them to allow them to be there.
Okay.
And, the license would make it clear that it's their, if there's a sewer overflow, there's a break, they're responsible.
Right.
It's not very likely because it's going to be a brand new pipe and pretty small diameter.
Would that be in our sewer regs? I mean, should we
Yep.
make sure that's in our sewer regs?
Would
Yeah.
would we have any responsibility, Jeremy, in the oversight of the engineering plans and just to make sure that it's properly enforced?
Yeah, because it's a private connection, but your regulations cover the private infrastructure cover connecting to your system.
Okay.
And the reason why is that um, you want to ensure that things that are connected to your system are not going to, cause issue. So, like a private water service that connects to your main that goes to a house, all of that needs to meet your standards because you may need to shut it off for some reason. You would want to make sure there's no back siphonage into your system. There's a whole host of reasons you'd want to make sure that things are built correctly that are connected. Even though they may sit on private property, they're still connected to your water main or your sewer pipe. So you want to ensure that it doesn't have a negative effect on your infrastructure.
Right. I'm just not sure if they own it and it's licensed from the water district. Um, I'm not sure what licensing and ownership mean in that context, actually. Um,
Yeah, I get. I'm saying a license, but because that's the term that's used sometimes. But you're there's some form of agreement that allows this private infrastructure to be in the public roadway, and
right.
it clarifies that it's private owned and maintained, but it's there subject to an agreement with the town, and the town could ask for it to be moved or relocated or whatever for whatever for convenience. Um,
Oh, so the license would be from the town, not the water district, not the water sewer district, or how would that work? I mean, maybe we just have to make this up, but
No, we can figure that out. We can figure that out
okay.
through the proper idea.
Does anybody think that at some point the North Sherborn Water Sewer District Commission will have to be incorporated as a separate entity
It is.
for tax?
It's not incorporated, but it is a separate entity and it has a separate. It would and should have its own tax ID.
Yeah.
So that should be on your list of things to do to get one.
File for an EIN, right?
It's a separate entity. its own entity. But it won't, it's not technically incorporated because it's not a private company. But it can have a federal tax ID because
Okay. Would it be smart to have it incorporated for protection of
no, you
commissioners, or
can't.
is there any reason for liability reasons? Anything?
No, you can't. It's not a private company. It's
Okay.
public.
Okay. File for an EIN. That'll be
Okay.
a fun one.
But the district should have professional insurance, liability insurance.
Yeah. Who do you think gives that insurance? Do I call my insurance provider? I work with a company that used to do my companies and my corporations for all my general liability and stuff. Should I call them? And
I'm not sure they'll cover such an entity, but
yeah,
I mean, let's I quotes from them if you'd like, but I'd first suggest that you reach out to the same carrier that the town uses, Maya,
yeah.
it's interlocal insurance agency.
What's the name of the company?
Maya, MIIA, the Mass Interlocal Insurance Agency,
Okay.
part of the Massachusetts Municipal Association.
Okay.
That makes sense.
They provide insurance for member communities, water systems.
Okay. Now, even though we're not actually part of the town,
Right. That's the little difference, that it's not like a department of the town. So it's a little different, but it's probably your
okay.
best first contact is with them to see if that can be something that they can cover.
Okay. The other thing I was going to ask too is, because we're disconnected from that and we're not part of the town, are we actually able to ask the town hall to do the billing for us, or is that a crossover?
No, you can.
Okay.
The town would likely want to get some sort of recoup of the costs, which is
Okay.
typical.
Okay.
That's allowed in the special legislation. That's allowable. So if there was assistance, then there had to be some tie-in to the town, because the town is the only entity that could place a lien on a property should somebody not pay a water bill. So
Mhm.
you needed to have that connection anyway with the town.
Okay.
But if the treasurer collector's office was to be asked to help collect sewer bills, water bills, or do the billing, then that the effort that entails of them could be charged to the district, and then you'd incorporate that into the rates that you charge.
Okay. Who breaches that question with the treasurer tax collector?
I could help with that.
Okay.
That would need to be a conversation that we have jointly together.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that's good.
How do people feel about, we haven't had a huge attendance at our meetings from the public other than online. How do we feel? Should we do the hybrid thing? I don't care one way or the other. But should we continue with that, or should we just do Zooms, or what do you think?
I just think just as many people can attend, people aren't attending, like you said. From my point of view, if we do it as Zooms, it's a lot easier to print out the transcript, because everybody's written on there, the names are on there, and everybody's accounted for, rather than having one microphone. Last month, so I'm going to have to go through quite a bit, because I think there were 4 of us all on one mic. So that was so this is easy.
Should we?
And
Right.
it's very easy when everyone's on Zoom and you share a screen, you're sure that everyone is seeing it equally. And, other people who are sitting in the audience can't share a screen, or it's a lot harder. It's easier if, I don't know. I think it's good to be in person now and then, but for most things we're doing, I think Zoom is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I do have a sort of overall sort of um, how we do things issue with we need to do a lot more work on these bylaws and regulations. And often it's really hard if people kind of work on it piecemeal when they have time. So nobody's job particularly, it's all of our jobs. Uh, and to first of all, to get to really make um, in general, to really make progress on something, I find with a committee like this, it's useful to just for, say, a couple of people to team up and just concentrate on one thing, like get the bylaws done, or work on the water regulations or the sewer regulations, because the way that we've kind of been doing it, like some people put in revisions, others put in revisions. They're not always clearly identified. We don't know where the latest is. We don't know which version to work on. It's just we're not going to make very good progress that way. At least that's my prediction. So I would propose number one that we we thank Elizabeth and the Toll Brothers and Kennedy Wilson people for all the help they can give us. We really do appreciate that. And especially Liz has gone way beyond the call of duty on this. So uh, we should acknowledge that. But I think we do have to take control of the master, the master document. And
Hmm.
people can put in revisions and send them around. But I think when we meet again, we should just have reviewed those revisions and agree on which revisions make sense and which don't. Or
Mhm.
somehow we have to have a better system
Yep.
if we're going to get this done in time.
I thought the system was going to be that they would be up on the file share, and that may be the system that works.
But every new version is its own file on the file share.
Is that
So
what you?
are we going to have a master document anywhere? If somebody wants to revise, whose version do they use?
I think maybe we just have certain people, assigned people, do the revisions.
Right. I
If
think,
somebody wants to comment, they can take the version and send it to the person who's responsible for it. And that
so,
person
yeah,
makes the revision on the file share.
I think that's a good suggestion.
I
Maybe
don't know
for
if I can
each
do
of
that,
those
but
documents, one person is kind of the point person. If you have ideas for revisions, send it to that person.
the person, yeah. I mean, I'm supposed to be doing the bylaws and Josh is doing all the regs.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's,
that works.
kind of how it's supposed to work.
Would it work if the only, we had our questions, everybody comes up with the questions, um, but the only time we revise these documents is at a meeting where we come up with it, we revise it, and then whoever's in charge of that puts those agreed on revisions into it then and there, rather than people during the week putting comments in and sliding comments in and putting it out and not knowing. Like when we did it with Liz the other night, it was pretty seamless. We all agreed on revisions to make. She made the revisions, document done. So at the end of that meeting, at the end of our meetings, the document is like set in stone as of then. We could write down notes all week or until the next meeting, but the document doesn't get changed until the following meeting. You bring up your ideas or your comments. We discuss it as a group. We agree on it, and then the language is written and done. It seems like if stuff keeps getting done during the week, no one's going to know when somebody did something. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't do a lot of this stuff, so I'm not exactly sure. what the protocol
I
is
think
on
in
it.
principle, that's good, Josh. But to kind of be wordsmithing an idea on the fly in a meeting really takes a lot of time. So I'd suggest that if people have ideas for revisions, that they enter the revision in a, you know, in a separate little document and they bring it up at the meeting and show it at the meeting. If everybody agrees, we just import that into the document. That way we're not writing from scratch
Yeah.
during a
Okay.
meeting. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I just didn't want to have to feel like every single night I come home, whatever, come home from work, I'm like, oh God, I have to check the regulations to see if anybody put anything and like search through the regulations to see if anybody put anything new in there.
I
So
agree. I agree. That's a really hard way to work. Yeah.
yeah.
It's everybody's time.
Okay.
But I like the idea of, you know, you can work on wordsmithing on your own, have it ready to show on your screen as an alternate text at the meeting.
hmm
If people like it, well, then, you know, the master of that particular document can incorporate it.
I think I was pretty much, I did make one comment this week. I think I sent it around, but other than that, I was pretty much done. I've gone through them, those back and forth. I don't know if we bring it up to someone on their peer review or something, they might have something to add to it, but I don't know. Does anybody have anything to add to the regulations? Or did we just come up with more tonight than we have to?
We did
Well,
come up.
I have stuff to add regarding the process of approval, you know, what an applicant has to do and what
hmm
are the benchmarks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm happy to write that up and send it to you
Okay.
or
Or
bring it
send
up
it.
at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
yeah. And we can, even if you want to send it ahead so we have a chance to read it, but
Yeah.
we could agree on it on the changes. It's just hard to see the changes if somebody just redlines something and sends it out. I'm having a little trouble finding them.
Oh, so am I. I don't know which document to use.
Yeah. So I think only Jeremy can add to the shared folder. Is that
We can
true?
send it.
So
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
yeah. So
I don't know.
I I thought I gave you all full access, but
okay.
um, let me know if that's not the case.
All
I
right.
can, but you all should have full editing rights.
Okay.
Oh, Jeremy, when revisions are made and an older document is no longer current, um, should should we be each responsible for removing the old document and replacing it with a new one, or how does that work so that the different drafts don't pile up in that SharePoint file?
I guess it's up to you how you want to do it. Um,
Right. We should talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about that next time when everybody's back in the saddle. I think we have
And
another meeting in a week, right?
Well, we have in 2 weeks. The next meeting is on the 19th, Thursday, the 19th.
Okay.
And I'm gonna make the agenda for that. It's a holiday weekend. I'm not sure. Anyway, I return midnight on the 12th. I can make the agenda the 13th if anyone has thoughts, let me know.
okay.
And
Hmm.
I'll propose I'll propose that we do this by Zoom
Okay.
unless unless somebody has a different thought about it.
That we do what, Andrew? I didn't catch
That
that.
we meet just by Zoom,
Right.
not
Okay.
hybrid, not both.
Mhm.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
And are we going to concentrate on the bylaws or the regulations?
I think I'll have both on the agenda. Um, we
Okay.
can start with the bylaws and then do the regs.
And hopefully Liz sends along what she worked up.
I'm gonna send her an email. I'll copy you, Josh. Should I
Okay.
copy Jeremy too? Perhaps.
I must say, I'm not completely clear as to what needs to be in the bylaws versus the regulations and vice versa, but um, I guess we'll have to figure that out.
I don't know. But we have the templates, so I'm just going,
Right. Okay.
which is why, for our comfort level, having them looked at would be really comforting.
We need a consultant for that.
Yep. And a budget.
Jeremy, can it be protocol that at the end of the meetings, can you just forward me the Zoom transcript? It's probably a pain, but it's the
Jeannie
only.
does that. Jeannie usually sends that to us. She sends
Okay.
it to me, and I will have her send it to you as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if Jeannie set up the meeting, she gets an email alert when the transcript is ready.
Okay.
It takes there's some lag there in the
Yeah.
system before it creates it. But since I didn't set up the meeting, I don't get that email alert. So
She does
Okay.
all the
if
Zooms.
Jeannie can just forward that on, that's the most useful if she set up the meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, as long as that just gets to me, that's how I'm going to do the minutes off of those transcripts. So
And I get you have your last item was an update on the new commission member. So
Oh,
with the unfortunate passing of Frank, that position is vacant. It's a
yeah,
select board appointed position, and the select board have a policy on how they fill positions. So the vacancy has been advertised, and folks that may be interested should apply through the select board's office, if they're interested in serving on the district commission.
you still with us, Matt, at all?
his name's here.
Yeah.
And I think those will
Yeah,
come.
I'm here. I'm listening.
Yeah. You
Thank you for
still
applying.
at some point, Matt, if you are interested, that position's open, and I think I saw an email that said that I don't know if you would have to even apply again or whatever, but if you are interested, just let us know or
I
I
did.
think
I
Or he has to
I
respond
did
to
send
select
an
board.
email that I was interested, and I got a response back from I forget who. I got to look at it. That
From Diane, did you send it to Diane probably?
yes, I
Yep.
think it was
Okay,
Diane.
great. Yep.
That all my information is still there from before, and I don't know what the next step is now.
Yeah, there's the policy of the select board is to advertise for 30 days, and then the select board will have it as an agenda item on one of their meetings right after that. So if
right. I
if
think
there are
Diane,
multiple applicants, the select board will screen them all and decide how they would like to select their appointee.
I think Diane said that the select board meeting when we will make the appointment is March 12th.
Okay.
all right. So we have to keep Matt interested till at least March 12th.
Well, he came to the meeting and I'm glad he did. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
A lot to take.
No problem. I don't have access to the. I probably can't get access till I'm on the committee, right?
Well,
To
to
the
the
SharePoint.
he is an associate member. Jeremy, what do you think? Should associate members have access to the SharePoint?
Again, it's up to you folks. I don't see any issue, but it's up to
Why
you.
not?
Yeah. I
I
would
would
say yes.
or
How does that work? Do we need to, do you send him a link? Do we send him a link? I don't know.
I just need his email address to be able to add him and send him a link.
Okay. We'll send that along, Matt.
That way, there you don't have to send me all this information. I can just go on and start reading, right?
Yeah.
To catch up.
that's right.
And there's plenty there.
What happened with our regs? It looks like some things aren't there unless there's a new share file. But the old, the, blah, the, old, legislation, I don't know, whatever it was. Is that gone from the share file or is that in there somewhere?
A copy of the legislation. I don't remember if that's on the sheriff file or
Was at
not.
one point oh, maybe that wasn't. Maybe you just sent it to us,
I
Jeremy.
think I might have sent it.
All right, we might just have that separately. All right, forget it. Okay. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Our next meeting, as we said it's the 19th. And
19th school vacation week.
Yeah.
I will be away.
yeah, that kind of stinks, doesn't it?
Hmm. Is that school vacation
Yeah,
week in Sherborn?
Steve
Yeah.
was away as well, but he thought he could log on at 7:30 at night. But I know that's not always the best.
Yeah, my wife will not be happy if I'm on a meeting for 2 hours while we're away.
Yep, I get it.
Not a big deal, but I mean, just so you know. So
Yeah.
Just got to get your kids to grow up.
I can't wait. Not much longer.
Don't wish it away.
I don't have to pay. I don't have to go away on school vacation, but I do have to pay for college. So
Yeah. So which is worse?
Yeah, right. Double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's my next problem. After school vacations becomes college tuition.
Exactly. Exactly. We have 4 months left.
Wow.
Okay, folks. Oh, anything else from anyone? Oh, we lost Tom and we lost Margot.
Yeah. They're dropping like flies.
Like flies. All right,
Yeah.
do we have anything else? I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to adjourn.
Oh, second.
Josh, I.
Andrea, I.
Marion, I.
Okay,
All right.
great. 9:23.
9:23. Great. I'll get the transcript. I'll work on